Hi friends, today we will be seeing what's the primary basic difference between the meetings in the Zoom that use the PMI and the other meetings that don't use the PMI. As you can see in Zoom, we have three different types of meetings. One is the new meeting, as you can see in the dashboard, which is useful in creating a instant meeting. That means in the next moment or the next hour I'm gonna create it. In the next moment I'm gonna make a meeting, and let's see what's PMI makes the difference from non-PMI ones. When in this present I'm making a new meeting, see, as you can see on the board, it's starting when I'm trying to start with the meeting. It's with the video on, not the video off, as you can see. And secondly, I'm creating a meeting using the PMI disabled. So let's start and see what happens. Of course, I'm using my iPad for this demonstration purpose. I hope you will be getting the idea. As you can see, this is the normal board, the dashboard that starts after opening the Zoom. And here, when I want to share the meeting ID, or I wish to know this meeting ID, I'm going to see the participants and see the invite and copy the invite link. So you see now the invite link. I'm just copied it and I'm pasting it, and I have just pasted here, and you have seen the Zoom has created its own meeting ID URL. Next, now I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna end the meeting, and I'm gonna create a new instant meeting again, disabling the PMI, and I'm gonna start a meeting again. Now, repeating the same as before, I'm going to the participants, I'm copying the invite link, and I'm just trying to see what's the invite link now. So as you can see, the invite link is different from that of the meeting that is created just before this meeting. There is a difference between these two URLs, but now let's see what happens when a meeting is created, or an instant meeting in this now present discussion is being created using an PMI. I'm just starting a meeting and repeating the same thing again. I'm copying the URL, I'm pasting it there, paste. So when I pasted, you can see that in the URL pasted just now, it's showing the 10-digit unique 10-digit ID that has given to me 5300587584. Let's see what happens again if I create another new meeting. So now again, as you can see in my PMI ID P530005875884, this is being embedded in the URL, and again I'm starting the meeting and following the same procedure back again. I'm trying to copy the URL and paste. So I'm pasting it here. So now if you can see that this URL is exactly same as that of the URL created to the previous instant meeting. Unlike the previous other two meetings which have been created, the first two meetings which have been created without using the PMI, the URLs are different from each other. But however, when the meeting is being created using the PMI ID, the URL remains the same. So now let's go to the scheduled meetings. As you can see, scheduled meetings can be classified into two: a single scheduled meeting or a repetitive scheduled meeting. by this time you should be getting that idea. For example, if I am creating a meeting, so meet 1, so meet 1, it is non-repetitive, as you can see. The fourth repeat, it's never repeated, and I'm not using my personal ID, and I'm scheduling meeting now. As you can see, as a meet 1, and the second line from the top shows the URL required for the login into this particular meeting, or the same URL can be observed at the bottom too. Or the meeting ID is 79765883198, and the password is some else that is existing here now. So if I am trying to add, I'm just created. Now again I'm scheduling one more meeting, say meet 2, and again I'm scheduling at a different time, so say 11:15, and it is also non-repetitive meeting, and I'm not using the PMI. Now you can see, when I'm setting it again, you can see an entirely different ID has been created with a different password for the scheduled meeting back again. So now you get the idea. And if I'm creating a scheduled meeting again, suppose meet 3, using set 11 o'clock, using my PMI ID, then you can see this PMI ID is same as that of the PMI, the URL that is generated for my meeting, even as that of the instant meeting. So instant meeting has, if we can see the last four letters, UT09. In the same way, if you can see here, it is also ending with the same capital UT09, and even the meeting ID and the password remains the same even for the scheduled meeting too. And of course you can expect another scheduled meeting in the same way, the same using PMI. If you create one more meet, it would be having the same PMI, be having the same ID back again for the joining. So again, if you can see at the bottom, you will be having the same URL. So this is what happens whenever you are creating meetings with using PMI and creating meetings using non-PMI. And now coming to the third kind, I'm scheduling a meeting that is recurring meeting. So recurring meeting, or in which you will be meeting at the same time for a limited period of time with different days. For example, if I'm starting if I want to meet every day, like around 11:30 p.m. for example, say I'm repeating it every day, and you can end the repeat too. For example, I was just trying to make it occur 3 times, so I'm giving it. So you can see it starts today on 10th and ends at June 11th 2020 at 12 a.m. so it uses your particular iCalendar. And if you can, I'm disabling my PMI and I'm just generating the meeting now. So now if you can see, so this will be the ID, which is different from that of the ID that is produced using PMI, but however this ID will be the same for the next 3 days, that is June 10th, 11th and 12th. The ID and the password will be the same, which is as expected, because you wouldn't want a recurring meeting to be having a different ID or a different login URL for each and every time. So when you are making a scheduled recurring meeting, you can see that the meeting ID or the URL invite link URL remain the same, and if you can see, if I'm using the same thing, I'm making a recurring to, and if I'm repeating it again every day for the same thing for suppose for 3 occurrences as like before, and if I'm using my PMI and I am generating the meeting now, you can see this ID always is same as that of the ID that is being generated using when we have tried to create a meeting which is instant or a scheduled or a repetitive meeting. It remains the same. So in conclusion, the PMI, whenever you are creating a meeting using PMI, your invite link or the URL doesn't change. Your ID as well as the password remains the same irrespective of the types of meetings you are created using the PMI. It may be the instant or the scheduled repetitive meetings. However, if you are creating an instant meeting without using your PMI, then in such cases you can see it produces different IDs, each having a different ID, each having a different login, and this is the same for the instant meetings and the scheduled meetings. However, the recurring meeting will be having the same meeting ID. However, this meeting ID is different than of the meeting ID that is produced for your personal meeting, that is your PMI. So where does the PMI really comes into help? For example, if you have a group of clients, specific targeted group of clients that you want to interact with them all the time, and you would be having a specified target of clients which you want to meet regularly and have the information recorded with you, you can make sure for the PMI meetings, the meetings using the PMI will be recorded to your local computer or your device, whatever, from wherever you are trying to log in. However, for the other non-important or the less formal meetings, you can create meetings using the non-PMI. Hope you got the idea. Thank you very much.